Here's our intrepid photographers. Acting like goats. Say hi.
We'll talk about it when we get off the rocks.
Yeah.
I'm just pushing buttons. I don't even know what I'm doing. I stand next to him though, it makes me look good.
Yeah.
It's real. The tripod does all the work, really.
And here come our intrepid photographers back.
Go.
Did you get the shot?
I got some shots. I didn't get the shot. I got some shots. I got Craig's leg quivering under the 7,000 pounds of camera gear he's got.
That's what it feels like right now.
Well, if I ever go to Everest, you're my Sherpa.
Apparently I'm ready for it.
You made it. And how was it?
It was worth it. Fog's coming in a little bit better now, but
Yeah.
I'm good with it. I don't want to keep everybody from getting out there because this is very popular.
Yes, I know.
So we'll talk more about it at the desk or somewhere else.
Okay. I just had some guy offer me 10 grand for one of my photos, so.
Oh, yeah.
His name was Craig Neeson. I've got it proof.
If you couldn't tell, Chris and I had a lot of fun. All four of us had a lot of fun. We can't wait to do it again. This composition, nobody knows the location of this lighthouse. No, I'm just kidding. A lot of people do. It's a very popular photography spot. It is a little bit interesting to shoot because you're up on rocks and you do have to watch the tide. I loved shooting this. I loved the conditions for it. I just wish I wouldn't have felt as much pressure because I wanted to get in, make my photograph, and get out. Tell me what you think of this photograph. I didn't do a lot in post-processing on this. The shot is pretty close to what it was in the field. Let me know your thoughts and feelings of this composition and the processing on it. I love the discussions that we have. So we had to go get a lobster roll, or a lobster roll, whichever way you want to say it. We found Thurston's lobster pound and devoured some food. It was really good food. All in all, we had a great time with Chris and Suzzanh from Hinton The Trail. And then it was off to Thunder Hole. Very popular place. Very popular indeed. Make sure to arrive prior to high tide so you can experience the thunder. So for composition number 2, I decided not to photograph Thunder Hole itself. I walked around the area around Thunder Hole, looking for a composition that was more unique, something that most people wouldn't normally photograph. Luckily, we had some really cool waves that day, along with some sea fog. Really cool stuff. This is the photograph. The raw is the final photograph. There's not much to do here. What do you guys think? Let me know. Let's talk about it. We closed out our only full day in Acadia National Park atop Cadillac Mountain, watching a fog bank roll into Bar Harbor. I just did it, didn't I? It's Bar Harbor for everyone else. Anyway, this is one of the 2 panos that I took that night with the cruise ship in harbor and the fog bank rolling in. It is just such a cool thing to see a low-level cloud inversion rolling into the harbor there. I really love this panoramic that I did. I cropped down in post to remove the distraction of that blade of grass just sticking up. And didn't do anything for the photograph, so bye-bye. I do like the crop because you just have the rolling mountains in the distance in Maine, surrounded by the low-level fog. You've got the cruise ship in the midground, and you've got Bar Harbor in the foreground. and it wasn't intentional earlier in the video. For some reason, I slightly picked up that Maine typical accent, and sometimes it still comes out. So for this second pano of the outing, same area. This time I've got more of Cadillac Mountain in the foreground and Bar Harbor in the distance. You can kind of make out some of the distant mountains in Maine. What I like about this one is you get some of the mountain in the foreground. You get the two cruise ships in the harbor itself, and of course that gorgeous marine layer coming in. There's a little bit of gradient in the sky as well, with some color. So we're going to do a little bit of post-processing on this. We're going to crop it down. We're going to bring up the shadows so that we can see that foreground a little bit better, and we're going to bring down the sky a little bit, as well as tweak it just enough to get some more color in it. I felt that there was more color when we were on location. Just didn't turn out as well in the photograph. I still like this photograph. I love that atmosphere that day that we had.
So we're kind of wrapping up our last quasi day in Acadia. I've done a lot of talking to camera because, well, there's a lot of people around, and some of the places that I was photographing from, I really had to pay attention to what I was doing instead of trying to get video and photographs. So, yep. Did get a lot of photographs. They look pretty cool. Yeah. I like them. Shelley found some rocks.
Yay!
And we're going to head up to another part of the park that we have to go back to the mainland and drive about 45 minutes up to. I'll show you a little bit of the drive now, and if we get something up there, even though it's really the wrong time of day, and we have to get back to, well, the Hintons, where the rest of our stuff is stashed while we're bouncing around Maine, and then figure out how we're going home.
Yep.
It's a trip in a nutshell.
That is.
And yes, the trip was winding down. We had one afternoon to do the Schoodic Peninsula of Acadia National Park. It's the only part of the park that is attached physically to the mainland. This lighthouse can be photographed basically from the roadside along the Schoodic Peninsula. The light was incredibly harsh. Even in post, I was only able to bring back a little bit of the sky. Remember, I had lost my circular polarizer by this time. Shame, shame. Even with that being said, I do love the composition of this photograph. I do not like the light quality. There are a few things that you can do when shooting in these conditions. I tried doing HDR. The contrast was wrong. I couldn't get dark enough darks. Plus there was a little bit of haze on those far trees. So in post, I converted it to black and white and went super high contrast. I love this photograph and this composition. How would you guys handle this type of situation in the field? Would you just go black and white like I did? Or would you just not shoot the shot? Like I've mentioned, this is my preference, to go high contrast, black and white, crop down the sky so that it's not as distracting. What do you guys think? Let's have a discussion about it. So for composition number 6, we're going to go back to earlier in the visit to Acadia National Park in the main park area. This is a little pond that we saw on the roadside. I really was drawn to the reflections in the water. The problem here again is it's the wrong time of day. The image is too contrasty in its base exposure, which I just showed you. This is the overexposed to bring up some life in the shadows. I also did a -3 stop to bring down the sky to bring it into a line. Of course, we're going to take that in and blend that into one raw image here in a sec. That will give me the dynamic range that the D600 lacks. I realize it's probably time to upgrade cameras. There are better sensor technologies out there would give me more dynamic range off of a single frame. This is the blended raw HDR image. The reflection holds together. One thing I didn't notice in the field is I had a little bit of lens flare coming into the image. I should have taken my hat off and blocked out the sun so that I could have taken out the flare. Tell me, do you like the flare? Do you not like the flare? Let me know. Some people like the flare. I don't. I don't find it too distracting in this image because the reflection in the pond actually pulls my eyes to it stronger than the lens flare does. Let me know. I'd love to have a discussion on what you guys think about this photograph. Let's get it going. I love the reflection, like I said. I can't say enough about that reflection. So let's go back to the night we were on top of Cadillac Mountain. This scene presented itself as we were coming down the mountain. Gorgeous. You got the sun setting below the horizon, giving that gorgeous belt of Venus and that sliver of the moon. It was stunning. In post, I did very little work. I brought up the foreground so that you can make out the trees in an outline and the clouds between Cadillac Mountain and the next mountain over. It was a stunning scene to end the day with, and our time with Chris and Suzzanh Hinton from Hinton The Trail in Acadia National Park. So have you guys ever just stumbled upon the perfect composition? That's what this was in my mind. If you've made it this far, thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you next time.